Listen up, you beautiful, beautiful people. From the shadow of Graceland, it's the 901 Soccer Podcast. I'm Scotty Smith, and I'll be your host. We are part of the Beautiful Game Network. For USL podcasts across this great nation of ours, go to bgn.fm. It's a lovely Monday morning in the Memphis area. Thank God and Peter Freund that we have professional soccer. That was fun, wasn't it? I mean, that was amazing. 7,300 people on a chilly March night. We had the drums, the flags, the smoke. At one point, we were singing the same song for 10 straight minutes. And on top of all that, we got a point. Scored our first goal in history. That was cool. We'll talk to Jason Heitman about that goal. We'll talk to him about what it means for Elliott Collier on a big night for him. Jason Heitman is one of our 901soccer.com writers. Wrote a great piece on his transition from being an American football fan his whole entire life to being a passionate, obsessive soccer fan. You can go back and look at that article. You might have to scroll back a little bit on 901soccer.com. So Jason's going to break down this match for us, and by him doing that allowed me to act like an idiot in the supporters group, so I appreciate that. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the 901 Soccer Podcast. Jason, welcome aboard, sir. How are things?
Thank you, Scotty. Thank you for having me on your wonderful podcast again. And they're pretty good considering we got a point out of yesterday's.
We did. We got a point.
Endeavor.
First point in history. It doesn't mean we get to, make T-shirts celebrating that or anything along those lines. But we will. We'll take it and be really, really excited about it. Bluff City Mafia was actually singing, "We got a point. We got a point." And so. It's fun, man. I don't know. There's something fun about it. It's the first point in history. I know that it's not supposed to be that big of a deal because it's just a point, but at the same time, first point in history, it's kind of fun. And first goal, and I think that was the bigger deal, right? It was the first goal
Correct.
in history, and so that was fun. So let's kind of start there, and we'll get into some other things. What did you see on the goal itself? How would you describe it, and what went well during what led to the first goal in the history of Memphis 901 FC?
Yeah, so I would categorize that goal as 100% Memphis. Very gritty, kind of scruffy goal. Collier, I was kind of hard on him last match just from situations, but I feel like he played much better, specifically in his ability to control the ball. And he just kind of, we were just constantly trying to ping the ball into the box and it wasn't working. And he just kind of picked the game up by the scruff of the neck and took an opportunity. And thankfully, two of their defenders tried to nick at his shins and they both missed. And he was able to slip through and put a move on the other defender and slot one home. And I could have swore that the keeper got at least a finger or something on him. But look, he hit it hard enough, and that's all that matters. It was true, and it went right where it needed to go, and he beat the keeper, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and in his celebration, when I first saw it on the replay, I thought, oh, please, please, please tell me he's not dabbing. But he was not dabbing. He was kissing his armband. He had a black armband on. And for those who don't know, Elliott Collier is from New Zealand. And the day before or 2 days before, depending on what time zone you're in, we had a situation where at the time, we thought 49 people had lost their lives. Yesterday, there ended up being a 50th person who died as a result of a mass shooting at a mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand. And Elliott Collier actually knew one of the people who lost their lives. And so this was a highly emotional moment. And it was a really big deal for him. And those are the kinds of
Yeah.
things that when we look back on this game and we think back on the first goal in Memphis 901 history, it won't be just like, oh, yeah, Elliott Collier scored the first goal. It was like a big deal because of the circumstances that had happened during the course of the week.
Yeah, I just, and props to him. I can't imagine playing in a game like that, especially being so far away from home. Something that kind of, that especially something as drastic and as life changing as that event was for that community. And, props to him. So, we may, be maybe topsy turvy in terms of our relationship with every player, but at the end of the day, you got to give it to them, especially for putting it all out there. But all in all, like, I guess the second part of your question, they played much better. I don't know if that was just by design based on the way we were set up or just the quality of the opponent we were playing against. I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it's a long season, so there'll be much to look at over the course of the year. But I felt like defensively, other than that one situation, which, truth be told, that goal was kind of fluky. That 16-year-old, I can't think of Griffin.
Is this your son's name?
Yeah.
A-O-W, Griffin Yao. And if he's 16
Correct.
years old and putting, and I thought he played well in other aspects of the game. I mean, this may be a guy that we kind of need to keep our eye on because he's obviously impressed a lot of people up in the D.C. area.
Oh, without a doubt. And, like his shot, like he was just taking an opportunity that he saw and he got a lucky bounce. And sometimes that happens. Keeper was too far forward and there was not much they could have done. I mean, you can overanalyze that, but truth be told, at the end of the day, it was just luck of the draw.
So some people on Twitter were saying it took a deflection. Did you see anything that that resembled a deflection there?
I thought I can't remember if it was Muckett or if it was Hodge. I can't remember who was standing in front of him. There was two people, but I could have swore it went off one of their shins. Just the way that the trajectory coming off his foot and then how it changed and had that massive rainbow arc into the corner of the net. But
still, I mean, it's a goal either way, right? I mean, a goal's a goal.
Correct.
We're down a goal. It's early in the match, and you got to kind of fight back from those things. Found ourselves down a goal early. That's a repeating theme, right? So 2 matches, we found ourselves down a goal early, and then you got to fight back from that situation. And possession seemed to be really in our favor during this match. One interesting note, going back to Elliott Collier, about what was different last week from this week, and he said Tampa Bay wasn't here to play soccer. They just wanted to kick us. They were just out there to hack us.
Yeah.
And he said with Loudon, it was like they were a more technical side, and it was they were actually out there playing soccer.
Yeah, I don't think their scoreline the previous week is indicative of their playing style. Like I thought they were a very aggressive team. They could have skinned us a few times. There was a few moments that I think the overarching issue that we're having is communication. And I think a lot of that just comes down to these guys have not played a lot together, and that's going to take time. And there's just a couple of moments somebody thought someone else was going to be somewhere, and an errant pass or, poor defensive marking or whatever it may have been. But there was a couple of situations that they could have skinned us. But I guess that's the same to say on our end, because we had one specific clear-cut chance that easily could have won us the game in hindsight. In Rashawn Dolly's attempt, if he had, and if you look back on the replay, like of course you can overanalyze it, but I don't know if he just saw that the keeper was already spread and he could possibly squeeze it between there in the 5-hole, but I guess he could have pushed it anywhere else, and their keeper was already set, and he probably could have taken it. But it is what it is. The more opportunities that guy gets, I think the better off he'll be. And plus, like what? He's still a kid,
he's just out of college,
so
he played for Quinnipiac last year, and they play in a conference. I mean, look, the USL is just a big step up, right? And he was a guy who was known as a goal scorer. He scored a lot of goals. But look, at Quinnipiac, honestly, what's he playing in front of? I mean, a good crowd is probably looking at maybe a couple hundred people, probably.
Yeah.
And here he is out in front of 8,000. This is his true rookie season. He was drafted in the 2019 MLS draft, so it's his true rookie season. And the stage is probably a little big for him. But when he was heading one-on-one with the keeper, I was like, please just go right or left, it's coming right at us. And I was like, right or left, right or left, right or left. And he just went dead center. And that is kind of a move that will come with experience. You take Rashawn Dolly in the exact same situation next year, maybe even later this year, and he goes right or left to the keeper.
Yeah. I think in a lot of, because you could look back at last week too, that there were situations that he took too many touches. And I almost wonder, because he had his first touch was great to bring the ball down and at least continue his run. I almost wonder that if he had maybe in this situation not overthought it and pushed it to a side and maybe gone around the keeper, but hey, it's his opportunity. He's got to learn what works best for him, and
you can see it though, right? You can see the raw talent, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say my only complaint from the game, and Alan touched on this last week as well, is that we just leave too much space in the midfield that we don't have anyone to control it. However, if I were to, like, Dan Metzger, that guy is everywhere, and he has an incredible motor. And last night he specifically either started an attack or saved us from conceding, or giving them a really opportune chance to slot one home. Him, and then when Weston Paul, number 23, hopefully I'm saying his name correctly, when they were on for that brief period, there was just so much link play in the middle, like it was all coming together, and maybe that's what led that whole proceeding, and Loudon having to commit more to the midfield and not just having to push everybody out wide, and having extra men to cover. Like, I wonder, I'd have to go back and watch it from the replay again, but just from the consensus of how he was playing and how we were all talking about it, I like him, and I would like to see Weston Paul start the match.
He did a lot of preseason, and then he just kind of didn't when the season came around. But he's a guy who got called up to the Trinidad and Tobago national team. He'll be with them this week, along with Dwayne Muckett, and Hodge will be there too. And we actually, now this is what we heard yesterday. Again, with the press conference, is that those three will actually be back for our Bethlehem Steel match. They will not miss a match. They're going to fly down. Yeah, I know.
Oh, wow.
They're probably going to fly down. They probably flew down today. They'll train with the first team, or with their national team with TNT, and then they will actually play a match on Wednesday, fly back to Memphis maybe Thursday, and make the trip with us up to Bethlehem, which is amazing. That's a really long and busy week for them, but
hopefully it doesn't take too much out of him. That I almost wonder if he'll even start. If he'll start all three of them, I wonder if he'll. I also got to give something to. I like both of what they can do, and Dolly and Collier, but I almost wonder sometimes they don't need to both be out there. Like, you can alternate them. If you wanted to bring one in at like 65 and still have that target man ability, you could. But same thing is that pass, and I believe it was Sandoval who passed it back to Collier, just being, almost kind of being the target man in a way, being able to kind of control that back line. I want to see more of him in a sense that he has more time to link up with Namja, and Muckett, and just like all of our creative players that always are stuck out on the wings. I want to see them. I think I could see the pieces. I just want to see it formulate on a formation and like the responsibility.
That's one of the things that Seamus was talking about last night after the game. He says, I want to see somebody who is willing to take a chance, right? He said, I want to see some bravery. I want to see some creativity. There's a lot of guys who are obviously coached, well coached, technical players, but I want to see somebody with some creativity. Now, somebody has to play the 10
against Bethlehem. And this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Yes, Leston Paul will be back, but he's going to be probably a little tired, like you mentioned. Muckett is a guy who played the 10 in the Trinidad and Tobago First Division. He's a guy who could play the 10. I would love to see him there. I've been on the record many times as saying play Muckett at the 10. And here's the thing. Somebody's got to play there because Adam Najm is going to be with Afghanistan's national team.
Najm. Yeah, sorry. I'm it's still learning some of these guys'
but he's
names.
Going to be there. Like, he'll be gone, right? So somebody has to play in the 10. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Paul? Is it going to be Muckett? Is it going to be like we switch these guys out? Or are we going to see somebody that we haven't seen yet? Is Sandoval going to come in and play in that 10 role, which we know he can do? So there are a lot of questions about who will play in Najm's spot when we travel up to Bethlehem. I'll tell you something else. You can't sleep on Bethlehem because those guys have got some skill. They played really well at the end of last year. They took the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, who had a great season, to penalty kicks and won in the playoffs at Pittsburgh. And then last week against Birmingham, there's a YouTube video that I've mentioned before that has gotten some play this week of a beautiful little piece of skill involving 3 teammates, 1-2 touches, and just like some really cool stuff. And then they only lost 1-0 to North Carolina FC last night, the team that had basically destroyed the 2-time defending champion Louisville City. I think Bethlehem's a pretty good team. We're going to have to – I would say this. If we come away with a point against Bethlehem, I think that should be a source of pride.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And especially as I think going up against any existing team that was in the upper half of the USL last year, and you could steal a point from them, that's a huge win because, I mean, like a lot of these other organizations and trying to build our way into this league, like you're going to have to take your lumps. And, I'm perfectly okay with an up and down season if you see, the existence of because you brought up a good point, or you reminded me of something. There was a portion of that game that the first time, and I know there's only been 2 games, but it was in the latter half, or like more in the middle side of the second half. Like there was some great triangle link play between like Metzger and Leston Paul, and I think Muckett was involved a few times. Like there was just quick little passes down the side, and we were just running loud and ragged up against those edges. And I was like, no, I want to see more of this. And then they would stop doing it. I don't know by design of like how we were trying to play offense, or what exactly it was. But I feel like too often the ball gets to our back line and our first reaction is just to hoof it. And I feel like because of the way when we drift back in with our midfield, like we have guys that have 1 good holding play, and 2 that can find the pass. It's not always going to be there, but I just kind of and I maybe that's what Seamus was getting at as well. Like I would rather give them the chance to fail and learn from it than like always play it safe. You know what I mean? Look, there's going to be situations this year where we're going to get drubbed. It's just going to happen. We're going to get beat 4-0 by somebody.
Well,
and just because
the good news is there's no expectations, right? At least not.
That's true. Yeah.
Now you'll get a different story from the coaches in the front office, but from us, there really are no expectations.
Yeah, I want to see some. I'm with Seamus on that. I want to see him take some chances, and if you get skinned, okay, fine, learn from it and change it, but don't like completely shell yourself off, and don't just try to play desperation football, and really try to work it, because those moments, I honestly believe that's what was building them confidence, and they're like, oh, we can string these together, we can do this, this is what's happening, and then maybe that's what gave Elliott, the additional confidence. Is like, I'm just going to take a shot, I'm just going to rip it out here and see what happens, and it worked. And I know Muckett also was the one that came, it was like literally maybe a minute later in that same position, came across and fired that shot, and just on the outside of the post. But I think that'll just help them. It'll help them build confidence. And they're a solid team. It's just going to take time to mesh. I feel like there are good pieces there, and it's going to work well. It's just, and it helps that we have an amazing goalkeeper.
That's right.
I know people want to kind of I know people want to kind of pin him for, being too far off his line on that one goal, but truth be told, like he's playing in position to help his defenders. And, there was a couple other situations in the game where, I was a little worried because of the way our defense was playing and they were throwing some balls in and he has the confidence to go and nab them. And you want a guy that's tough and strong and feels confident in his own ability. He's not shaken, and I have not seen him shaken. Even in the first 4 minutes against the Rowdies, like that did not shake him. And I'm hoping that he is. I hope there isn't a clause that they can just come back and take him.
Sadly, there is. There is. It is in.
I know.
His clause, and it's a sad thing. Like I worry about that. Like there are very few things that I worry about in season one, but one of my biggest worries is and now look, Scott Levine, very capable keeper, and that if that does happen, I have confidence in Scott Levine. What I don't like is and I'm going to soapbox here for a minute, is an American system that allows that you could just pull a player back in the middle of the season. So Sean Johnson goes down in New York City and they put their backup in and they say, no, Memphis, look, we got to have Caldwell because we're only down to one keeper here. I know they got others in the system, but they don't have any others that are better than Caldwell as far as then they wanted to get him real game experience. And that's the reason why he's here. But at the same time, if they have an injury to a keeper, they can call him back anytime. And I'm worried that that's going to happen because injuries happen, right? That's just the nature of the game. But I'll also tell the audience that you are a guy who you don't mess around when it comes to if a goalkeeper is not doing what he's supposed to, you'll call him out on it as a goalkeeper yourself. So this is a guy that from day one you have really, really liked.
Oh, he's my favorite player. Like if I want to get the keeper kit just so I can rep him. But yeah, I feel like it starts with a good spine, and I think there are capable, competent, well-coached players in our spine already. You kind of see it's kind of like a frequency, like the waves are kind of everywhere right now. Eventually we'll reach that harmonic point of being able to consist together. And I think when that happens, we'll be a very tough team to beat. We may always be inconsistent offensively, but I feel like I could see the groundwork for a great defense. And I know that's boring to some people, but truth be told, if we're going to lose, okay, fine. If it's 1-0, that's okay. Sure. We just didn't take our chances accordingly, but I don't want to be a haphazard team that just gets, run all over the field or the pitch because we're not prepared defensively. But I do have to say, I guess, one thing before I forget about it. Shout out to not only the entire fans, but Bluff City Mafia once again, because I was a little worried that because of the basketball tournament and because of St. Patty's Day, it was going to kind of dwindle the numbers down. But it was only 400 people less than it was the first game.
Great crowd.
I'm like, if this is the consistent thing, now maybe that'll change when it's 95 degrees and 98% humidity this summer.
But we are going to move the kickoffs back to 7:30 at that point. But still, I mean,
that's true.
I would say this. I almost think that last night's number was more impressive than the opening game number.
Oh, without a doubt.
Anybody wants to go to the first of something in history, right? It's this is the first of this game in history. This is but we didn't have that last night. We didn't have this is the first one in history. I got to be there for it. We just had over 7,000 people that decided that they wanted to show up. I think it was 7,300 or something like that. That decided they wanted to show up for soccer on a Saturday night after the St. Patty's Day parade had already happened, after Memphis had just played in the AAC tournament. And I know there was probably some overlap there, but man, it was just great to have that many people out of the game again.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the city, and it's just a constant, especially as being an out of towner, it's and somebody who came from a city that had failed, I guess lower than MLS league soccer, and now is getting their second shot at
third shot.
But, yeah, that's true. It is their Austin. We're referencing Austin in this situation, but no, it's incredible, and it's just, and I didn't get to say it previously, but at work, there were so many people, and I like, again, you mentioned it in the previous podcast, like I am the soccer friend for a lot of people.
Right.
And they're like, hey man, like I went and saw blah 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 and this was awesome. And I was like, please keep
Yes.
going. Like, go just get a ticket, just sit, just learn the game, learn to love it. Like, trust me, once people get in with the sport, it just sinks its claws into you in such a good way. And I hope people will continue that, and maybe even bring people from outside of the immediate, I guess, Shelby County or 901 area code or 662 area code, and people will start coming to these games more.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So
yeah, man, it's just so much fun. I mean, it really is, and I think people are learning that for the first time, and mixing in a little something different in their lives, and that's good for everybody, right? Need it.
I have a request for any of the players and our coaching staff that listen. Please score a goal on the Bluff City Mafia side, and I want to see somebody like basically jump into the stands because you guys are so hyped up, and you could just the tension from that Rashawn, when Rashawn had his chance, like you could just see. I remember looking at the angle, and you could see everybody, and it was just like there's like but
but that's okay because like the goal, like somebody had what we've said. This is really, really cool. People we don't even know are taking pictures and videos from the section, and they may be sitting a little bit back in the section and like taking pictures of things through the smoke, or like getting a video of a red, yellow, and blue stripe smoke coming up. And then like there's one picture that somebody posted on the Slack today that has like the players running back towards their end and just this wall of smoke in front of them, and it looks so cool. And man, it's just
I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to check it out.
It's great. And so like all of those things are fun, right? But now, and this is the last thing that I'll that we'll kind of start to wrap up. I'll tell you one thing. Let me brag for a second on our front office, okay? So yesterday, because I don't know, yesterday I talked to both Craig Unger and Andrew Bell, and they were both like 100%. So here I am, I'm complimenting, hey man, last week went great. Everything, well, you pulled it off with the opening match. We had over 8,000 people here. I never thought that was going to happen in Memphis, blah, 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 blah. I'm just like rambling on about the first game and how great I thought it was. Both of them laser focus on getting 3 points. They didn't care about any of that stuff. They didn't care about any of that stuff. They were just like, yeah, I mean, that's all well and good, but we got to get these 3 points. And it was just like winning. Like their minds were on winning. And I think that's extreme. Like it's really to be commended.
Of course. And the thing is like, it's not just the winning aspect. It's putting on a good effort, like, and that's another thing I think is, I don't know if it's just a testament of the people who are already soccer fans or football fans in the city and they understand this importance, but I love that no matter what happens, we applaud the team off the field. And that is such an important facet to this game that I was even in the especially in the first game, because you got to think there's a lot more people there that don't know as much about the sport, and they took the time, because that doesn't happen in other American sports. Like we spend more time booing than we like, applauding the because it's a show.
Right.
You're there for entertainment. Yes, you want your team to win. You want to feel that elation of that occurring, but at the same time, like it's a show, it's entertainment. It's to take your mind off whatever the doldrums of your regular life or the highs and lows, whatever it may be. Like that's what makes this special. And I was really taken back by that. Like, wow, the city gets it. Like this is what it's supposed to be like. And I hope, and that's, and props to the front office as well for making sure that they give the best product they possibly can. And, the experience, the only thing that he reminded me of something. The only thing that's funny is when Collier scored, he ran to the left. I maybe had a dislike habit, but then he ran over there and you could always see like, oh wait, there's nobody over here to celebrate with. And that's why I hope
that's a chemistry thing.
Future
that's
goals,
a chemistry thing. They're going to get the goal celebration down.
I hope that they have the opportunity to score on our end so they can pick and choose wherever they would like to go.
I just think it's really cool that, like, obviously his teammates were really, really happy for him, and some of them, including Caldwell. I think Caldwell was the main one in this. And I think this was the Commercial Appeal article that Caldwell was like, I mean, look, let's face it. These guys basically just met, right? Like, I can't think of any. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Elliott Collier not came up through, but it was signed by Chicago Fire. Caldwell was drafted by NYCFC. Caldwell was at the University of Virginia for a little while with the Loudon keeper, Brown. I can't think of any reason why Collier and Caldwell would have crossed. And what Caldwell talked about was wanting to do this for Collier the day after the New Zealand shootings, right? So, like, already those guys in that locker room care about each other. And he was like, we wanted this for him. And, we're so happy that he got to have this moment and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, they really legitimately care about each other and what's going on in their lives. And I remember Wes Sharpie, when he was on the pod, saying, basically it's my experience that if you put some guys in the locker room for 6 or 7 days, those relationships already start to kind of form. Yeah. Right. And that's a really, really cool thing. I really do think that we got a great group of guys. And chemistry is something that they continue to work on. That is going to improve. You mentioned the 1 and 2 touch passing. That will improve. And I think that we are on the way towards some chemistry that, might not have been there in that first match. So we saw improvement, baby steps, got a goal, got a point, baby steps. We're getting there. We just got to continue to improve, and I think we're on that path.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you joining us here today. Spot on analysis, and I know you're about to hit the road traveling. And also, thank you just personally for your role in the Anna De La Rosa thing. You're working hard for St. Jude. And we all appreciate what you're doing for St. Jude. So doing some traveling for St. Jude this week. Safe travels. Have a good trip, and we will see you back here when you return, and we'll talk some more soccer.
Sounds good. Thank you, Scotty.
Thanks, Jason.
That's going to wrap it up for this week. The boys are out of town on the weekend. They'll be playing at Bethlehem Steel, but there are still festivities. The Cavern at the Brass Door will be showing the match against Bethlehem Steel. It'll be on CW30 and ESPN Plus. At least that's what we understand the arrangements to be. And Bluff City Mafia will be meeting in the Cavern at the Brass Door Irish Pub. Check it out. If you've never watched an away match with friends, it's a pretty incredible experience. So do that this weekend while we're waiting for the lads to come home. All right. Everybody have a great week, a safe week, and thank you for listening to the 901 Soccer Podcast.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.